Hi there. This is the riddle of the... Wait, really? What? What's the problem? What are you doing here? I'm a dramatic device. I'm placed here so that you can have someone to converse with, making this video thus more interactive and amusing. And that works. Sure. I can also do this. Oh! Well, isn't that delightful? You were saying? This is the riddle of the unjust judge and the widow. We're going to take you quickly through the riddle, and then we're going to take it apart and think about it a little bit. That is your big intro. What would you have done? The riddle of the unjust judge. What a ball of cheese. Rude. Right, so in the town somewhere there's a judge and he doesn't have respect for God or people. In the same town there's a widow who needs the judge to do something to bring her justice against someone. She goes again and there's nothing. Eventually the judge says, "Oh my word, to stop this nagging and constant moaning, I will give you justice." Well, that's it. I told you it was short. That is highly unsatisfying, I'm not going to lie. It's probably the worst riddle that Jesus has ever told. Really? Why? Where's the storyline? It's just a grump and a whining old lady and one of them gives up. Okay, let's unpack it and see if you think it's better when we're done. Good luck with that one. Oh! Don't do that! Right. First of all, we need to see the riddle through the eyes of someone who knows the Jewish Holy Scriptures like a Jewish first-century young man would. We do? Yeah, yes. Because justice is like this huge part of Jewish culture. Do you know Cain and Abel? Like sugar cane is able to make sugar. Have you ever heard of Adam and Eve? Oh, yeah, got them. First two people God makes in Genesis chapter 2. That's right. So they had babies. Let's not go into that. And then those two sons are Cain and Abel. Cain looks after crops, Abel looks after cattle. Okay, so like Cain grows Cain and Abel looks after Abel. You think you need something cheesy to remember it? I do. Okay, great. So Cain kills Abel. What? That's really bad. And God's like, "Hey Cain, where's your brother?" And is he like, maybe he went to the market to get some crisps? Yeah, basically. He says, "I'm not looking after him. How would I know?" But God probably does know, because he knows everything. Absolutely. So God replies to him, "What have you done?" "His blood cries out to me. From the soil it was spilt on." Okay, this is getting good. Then does God smite Cain with thundering death? No. But the point isn't about revenge. The point is about God seeing. He knows the pain and the suffering. Okay, got it. Then, all the way through the Jewish scriptures, we get this constant call to be people who live out justice. Really? Yeah. What does God say to Moses when he's talking to him from the bush that's on fire? Does he ask him how he risk assessed the situation? Close. Really? He says, "I have seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard the cries of distress because of their harsh slave drivers. I'm aware of their suffering." Because they were crying out to him. Well, they were, but it kind of implies that God's just hearing the injustice of it all, even if no one was praying. Wow. Yeah, I know, right? When Moses writes his laws for the nation, look here. He writes in stuff about caring for orphans, feeding the hungry, looking after slaves, and looking after people from other nations, not being cruel, not letting violence grow, making punishments fit the crime, having places to flee to if you need to hide, and looking after widows. Widows! Finally, something relevant. What? This is all relevant. It's justice, that's the important thing. Yeah, but justice is not as important as worshipping God, is it? I mean, you think so? I did think that until you said that. Listen to this. This is what God thinks about people fasting and just thinking about themselves. He says, "Is this fasting what you think I'm after? You really think this is going to please me? No, this is what I'm after. Free those who are wrongly imprisoned. Lighten the burden of those who work for you. Let the oppressed go free. Remove the chains that bind people up. Share your food with the hungry. Give shelter to the homeless. Give clothes to those who need them. And do not hide from relatives who need your help. Sounds a little bit harsh, to be fair. Sometimes God just tells it like it is. What about this one? The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me. The Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted and to proclaim that captives will be released, prisoners will be freed. Tell those who are mourning that the time of the Lord's favor has come, and with it, the day of God's anger against his enemies. Who said that one then? Well, I'm glad you asked. It was a guy called Isaiah, but hundreds of years after Isaiah said it, when Jesus comes onto the scene, that's how Jesus introduces himself. Well, with that passage. Nice. Okay, so justice might be more important than we thought. One Jewish prophet called Amos even said this. God says, I despise your religious festivals and your meetings. They're like a stench to me. Even though you bring me burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. You bring me lovely fellowship offerings, I've got no regard for them. Away with the noise of your songs. I'm not going to listen to the music of your instruments, but let justice roll on like a river. Righteousness like a never-ending stream. Wow. I know, right? I did not expect that. So, in summary then, God's a God of justice. He cries out, this needs to be fair. And what about the poor? And I can hear the cries of the refugee and set the prisoners free and look out for people who've got nothing and their blood is calling out to me. So, it's like if we're meant to be people who say we're made in God's image and people who want to act like Jesus did, we need to live out lives that make an actual, real difference. More than that, we need to ask God to break our hearts so that we can hear those cries too. We see people who are alone or outside the system or broken, and our hearts break just like God's would do. Right. Okay, now tell me that riddle again, and we'll see if it makes a little bit more sense to me. One more thing. Do you know the bit where, in Jesus' life, when someone asks him which of the commandments is the most important one? Yeah. He answers, loving God with everything you have and loving people as much as you love yourself. Right. Hold that in your head when you hear the description of the unjust judge. Got it? Let's do it. In a certain town, there was a judge who neither respected God nor people. Oh my goodness, that is literally the opposite of Jesus' answer about how we should understand God's way. He says, love God and love people, and the judge doesn't respect God and doesn't respect people. Yeah, great. Don't interrupt me. There's also a widow who comes every day asking for justice about her enemy. And according to how Jewish people say we should live, she should have been top of the list. Day after day, she came and the judge did nothing. But God is all like, her blood cries out to me from the fields. Stop interrupting me. Until finally, he wrote, even though I don't respect God or people, I will give this widow justice because she has worn me down and I'm afraid that she might attack me. Not gonna lie, this whole riddle is like the exact opposite of God. Yes, Jesus finishes it off with this. Listen, God is not like that judge. He knows your pain. He knows what's happening. He sees the injustice. So keep praying, knowing that your answer will come soon. That is amazing. Okay, that's properly fired me up to start praying for the things in the world and around me that break God's heart. But Jesus finishes with this. When I come back again, will I find faith on earth? Like, will he find people praying? More like, will he find faith that leads to action and justice? Or will we be like those worshippers whose lives are all about running services and having music and spiritual tingles, and God wants to be sick because of the stench of our worship? Wow, that riddle is harsh. Yeah. Sometimes Jesus just told it like it is. Blink. Oh, what?